Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. As you can already tell from the title, this is another Mask With Me video. I thought that it would be a good one I'll end up posting this on a Friday, so that if at some point during the weekend you feel like putting on a 10-minute mask, that you can watch this video. I will take care of the timing for you, let you know when the 10 minutes is up, and I'll just chat a little bit to, pass the time while we do our masks together. The chatting has nothing at all to do with beauty or skincare. It's just me chatting about things. About my life today is what I'm planning on doing. I started doing these videos, if you haven't watched one before, because I feel like a number of us have masks, face masks, things that would be nice to use, but we never really think about using them. Now's your chance. Go get a mask and we will put it on together and then spend the 10 minutes. So enough chatting. Now I'm going to get my mask on. I'm using the Pores No More vacuum cleaner mask. I'll put the review for this mask down below. Now's the time. Pause the video, get your mask on. There we go. I've put my mask on only in those places where I tend to have bigger pores or maybe get a little oily or just want to make sure my pores are all nice and clean. And now I'll start our 10-minute clock and start the spa music. So in thinking about things that I would talk about today, I was thinking about what I always enjoy hearing people talk about when I'm watching chatty kinds of videos. And I thought I would talk a little bit about summer jobs I had when I was young, because I think those are kind of random and interesting. After I graduated from university, I've had like a 15-year career in a very specific field. Not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about those jobs that I had when I was a student and I was making money. I guess to start with, those ones in high school, I'll go over those ones kind of quick because they were just sort of little things. I mentioned actually in my last video that I used to horseback ride when I was younger. So I did have a job for 1 or 2 summers working at a Parks and Recreation horseback riding camp. So these were the kind of camps where you would sign your kid up to go for 1 week in the summer. And they would put all those kids onto a bus from the suburb that I lived in and take them off to this Parks and Recreation farm barn where they had not the highest quality horses so that kids could learn how to ride for the first time, and then also just have activities through the rest of the day. So I was kind of a counselor. I would ride with those kids on the bus in the morning and make sure they didn't all kill each other, which is lots of fun to do when they all have riding crops that they all want to hit each other with all the time. And then during the day I would help groom the horses, saddle the horses, and also just kind of lead the horses around, because I was more on the horsey side of things than on the kid side of things. The kids would sort of circulate through the day between like crafts and different things, and then they would have an hour of riding lessons, lunch, a few other things, and then they would have horseback riding games, and most of the time each horse had a person assigned to it so that we would be there with the kid on the horse. So I did that, which I enjoyed because I did love being around the horses. And I'm not so great with kids. Like, I've never babysat in my entire life or anything, but I like the stuff with the horses. I also did telemarketing, which is a very soul-sucking kind of job. It wasn't the worst kind of telemarketing. I worked at a very small company, family-run. There were only 5 employees, and they were just trying out for one summer, having somebody call up suppliers at businesses and ask about their needs for the kind of product that the company that I was in was making. So I wasn't calling people up at home or anything like that. I was calling people during business hours at businesses. Still did a lot of hang-ups, but I didn't feel like I was that invasive into people's lives, but it was still not a super easy job for somebody who is a bit of an introvert. After that was when I started university, and I was actually lucky enough in my first year of university over the summer that I stayed and did summer classes and also did volunteer work during that time. That was when I was still thinking in my head that I was going to be a veterinarian, and I was trying to gain more experience working with large animals before applying. So I volunteered at an equine research center and also at a small animal vet office on campus that sort of had cases that were more difficult brought in. I had some experience there because I had done a co-op program in a small animal vet. Anyway, those weren't really jobs. That was volunteering while I also did some courses. But then the next summer, I was out handing out my resumes in Toronto, which is where I lived at the time, and ended up getting a job as a retail clerk in a eyeglass shop. So it was just owner run. One guy who was wonderful at picking out eyeglasses that would suit your face and terrible at running a business. So I spent the time trying to help customers, but we didn't get a lot of them, and he was the really great salesman. So I spent a lot of time organizing his desk, trying to organize his finance, trying to organize the back room, because when I first got there, the desk was just a pile of like mail and letters and things, and the back room was just strewn with like the forms to make eyeglasses. So, you know, it was not the most fun job, but it was not the most difficult job either. After that, I went on to the summer job that I had for 3 summers. If you are from Toronto, you will know this. If you are not, I will tell you. I worked at Mariposa Cruise Lines, which is the largest cruise line in the Toronto harbor. Now, when you picture cruises, don't picture, you know, Carnival cruises 7 days out at sea. That's not what this was. Toronto is on the Great Lakes, on Lake Ontario, and they have boats in the harbor that do different kinds of cruises. So my main job there was that I was the manager of the harbor tour, day tours program. So 5 times a day we had a boat that we would sell tickets, get people onto, go out. There was a bar on the boat. We would try to sell them drinks, and we would do a 1-hour tour and be the tour guides. So the first year there, I had staff hired for me, but I still managed them. But also I did all the parts of the program. So earlier in the season, I would be the only person running it, but also we would switch jobs around. So I sold tickets on the dock. I, you know, did the tour a lot. I bartended. If I wanted to fill in and get extra money, I would often be asked to bartend on the night cruises. Those would be like the 3 to 4 hour dinner or party cruises people would rent the boats out for. So I did some of the bartending there, but day tours was my thing. I learned how to work on the boats. I actually became certified as a marine engineer on a number of the boats. I could start the engines. I, you know, understood all of that part of it, the fire systems and everything. I never actually did any of that because there were captains who did that. We just needed a few people certified as extra staff on the boat. But I would take care of all of that, and it was just a super fun summer job. You were out in the sun all day. You were talking with tourists, people who were generally in a good mood. I learned a whole lot of facts about Toronto. I did so many tours talking about the islands and the skyline and the buildings and the history. And I know, because I did that tour, sometimes at certain times in the season, I would do it 5 times a day. You know, we ran 7 days a week. We ran 3.5 months of the summer, and I did that tour so often. I could tell you so many facts about the Toronto skyline, and I probably still could tell you, probably word for word. I had it down so much. Bartending was fun, you know, depending on how fun the crowd was. I didn't love selling tickets on the dock so much. Again, I'm not sort of that natural salesperson, but I was a university student at the time. Everybody else who was hired was university students. And it was also this interesting place in the Toronto harbor where if there were exchange students coming or students coming from the summer, we had a lot of people from Ireland. University age Irish students would come to Canada to work for the summer, and they would be told there's good seasonal programs at the harbor. So they would show up early in the summer. We'd hire a whole bunch of Irish people, and you would just spend your days working, and then afterwards you would go out with all the people that you're working with and go and have an awesome time in the evening. It was pretty much all you could ask for in a summer job. There's lots of interesting stories about those summers. I had a few famous people on the boat, but it was just a wonderful time. A little crazy, but a wonderful time. I actually met my now ex-husband the last year that I was working there. I actually knew him the second year I was working there, but we started dating the third year. He was 2 years older than me, but was a captain on the boats. And that was a fun time. You know, I would never date somebody that I worked with generally, but when you're working a summer job and you're only going to be there for a couple of months, there was a lot of dating that happened between the staff who was there. It was probably a little more drama filled than it needed to be. Not my relationship, other people's. But it was a good place to sort of meet people, and hey, if you want to know anything at all about the Toronto Harbour, I can tell you. I know the names of all the boats on site. My boat was called the Oriole. Beautiful little replica steamship kind of thing. Just a beautiful little boat, and you know, you would go around the harbor, you would go into the Toronto Islands, and yeah, just a really good time. So that's our 10 minutes. I feel like I rambled a little bit there, but hey, that's okay. I am going to go take my mask off. It's not 100% dry, but it's dry where it needs to be. And now's the time for you to go take your masks off as well. I'm going to say goodbye before I do that. Thanks so much for joining me for this mask with me. Let me know if you have any topics, any things you would like me to talk about in future videos, or questions you'd like me to answer. Put all of that down below in the comments. I do respond to every comment that I get, and I look forward to seeing all of you in my next video. Bye.